Welcome back to Miss Lisa's YouTube channel, where we talk about things that have to do with science and math. This video, we're talking about biology, and in particular, respiration and excretion. Well, this class is primarily designed for homeschoolers who need a high school biology credit. But if you like the way I explain things, come on in and join us. Enjoy the video. We're going through this book, Glencoe Biology and Everyday Experience. I like it for homeschoolers because of the labs. The labs use everyday things that homeschoolers can find readily without having to have a lot of specialized equipment. So we have a couple of fun labs for this chapter that also don't use anything too special. So we'll talk about that in a minute. I want you to like, share, and subscribe because I have a goal of getting 1,000 subscribers so that I can do these videos faster. I spend a lot of time. I have to record them, and then they have to process, and then they have to upload. And if I have 1,000 subscribers, they will let me do YouTube Live where it goes straight, and that will make my life so much better because right now I've got 4 math classes and 4 science classes that I'm doing, and it's not the teaching part of it, it's all the processing that takes forever. So who knows, I got 2 more subscribers yesterday, so share it with your homeschool groups. It's free, and a lot of people have had good success using this method, so share it with your homeschool groups. I'd love it to bless homeschoolers all over the world. Actually, I've had people from Hawaii that I've tutored, and as far out as Texas. I'm in Georgia, so there are people that are starting to use it in more remote locations, but I'd like to be able to have people all over be blessed by this Miss Lisa channel. All right, so to biology. Respiration and excretion. When you hear respiration, you think of breathing, but respiration is actually more than breathing, and we're going to talk about that. And excretion is fancy science talk for peeing. So we're going to talk about gas exchange and waste exchange. Last chapter we talked about poop. The things we talk about in biology. So now we're moving on to breathing and peeing. So there you go. And then the other thing is, if you're just joining us, this book I use has simplified vocabulary. So if you want it to be a little bit more rigorous, get another biology book, do this one, and then add the vocabulary from another biology book. That's what my kids did. They used the book with the zebra on it down on the floor down there. I don't know which one it is. I think it's Glencoe. I think it was a Glencoe book with the zebra on it. But and it worked great. They learned their biology. And they enjoyed this book because it's easy to read, it's interesting, and it's got good labs. So it's fun. All right, so respiration and excretion. Respiration is more than breathing. So that's our first thing we're going to talk about. And the book starts off talking about how some people can hold their breath for a long time and other people can't. And it has to do sometimes with things like asthma, but sometimes it's just training. Michael Phelps, the famous Olympian swimmer, trained himself to hold his breath for a long time, and he won lots of gold medals. Also, there are divers who go down and dive for like pearls and stuff, and they train themselves to hold their breath for a very long time. Where regular people can't hold their breath that long. And for all of us, it's not more than too many minutes, and without oxygen you die. You have to breathe, and that's not a newsflash, is it? We talked about the need for water when we were talking about nutrition, and so you need food, you need water, you need oxygen. But the one you'll die from the quickest is no oxygen. It takes longer to die from no water or from no food. All right, so what respiration is it's the process of exchanging gas, of us getting oxygen and giving off carbon dioxide. So we eat food, and then our body burns that food for energy. Now, we're not dragons. We don't have a little flame inside of us burning. but we chemically burn the food, meaning we break the chemical bonds that are in the food, and we release that energy and use that energy. But to burn anything is to combine it with oxygen. It doesn't have to be a fire, but it can be a chemical combustion. So combustion is adding oxygen. So what we eat is mostly breaks down to sugars, there are other things too, but we're going to look at sugar. If you eat a little sugar, this morning I had some delicious kefir, and it had sugar and blueberries in it, so it had sugar in it. And it also had milk sugar because it was made milk kefir. So I ate some kefir, it had sugar in it, and I breathe in. When I breathe in, I'm breathing in atmospheric gas, and in general, atmospheric gas is about 80% nitrogen and 20% oxygen. If it was all oxygen, there'd be one little spark and the whole world would explode. So the nitrogen's really important. It makes fire not get out of control. Now, is that the only two gases in the atmosphere? Absolutely not. There's all kinds of other stuff. There's helium and hydrogen and carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and the noble gases. There's all these different gases, but they're very low in quantity compared to the main two, oxygen and nitrogen. And the main gas is nitrogen, so remember that. So this is the chemical equation of me and my sugar that I had. I breathe in oxygen. Everybody take a nice good breath there. The formula for sugars is C6H12O6 is a simple sugar there. They combine, and when they do, what it forms is carbon dioxide. So I'm breathing out carbon dioxide. If everybody feel your breath, do you feel how it's moist? You're also breathing out water. So our bodies are amazing, and they do complete combustion, meaning that we don't have smoke or ash. We're not dragons. We don't have anything bad coming out. We have good combustion. And the other thing that's added here, of course, is energy. Big E for energy. That's the point of all of this, is to give us energy. Okay, so carbon dioxide is one of the gases we breathe, is the gas we breathe out, but it's really not all. When we breathe in our 80% nitrogen, and we breathe out 80% nitrogen because we don't use it for anything. We don't use that nitrogen. Plants use nitrogen, but they don't use it in the gas form. They use it in a different form. They have to fix it, and we'll talk more about that. It sounds like it's broken, but it's called nitrogen fixation. We'll talk about that more when we go back to plants later. And it might be the spring. And that's what I did when I taught this class last time to 2 homeschool classes. So anyway, we breathe in nitrogen, we breathe out nitrogen, unaffected. When we breathe in the oxygen, it's about 20% of the air we breathe. We use of that breath about 5% of it. So 15% of the oxygen we breathe in, we don't use. So when we breathe it out, it's still got oxygen in it. And then we also breathe out the carbon dioxide, which is a waste product for us. We breathe it out. Plants use it. They take in carbon dioxide and they give off oxygen. So it's just perfect, almost like it was designed to be that way, isn't it? The plants need the carbon dioxide, is the gas they need to take in. The gas they give off is as waste, is oxygen. We need oxygen, we give off carbon dioxide as waste. Absolutely perfect. So anyway, of our breath that we breathe back out, it's about 15% oxygen still, 5% carbon dioxide. And that's why mouth-to-mouth resuscitation works. If you breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, if you did mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on someone, you would kill them faster, because you'd smother them. You'd be breathing poison into them. Something, not really poison, but something that is not what they need. They need oxygen. So mouth-to-mouth resuscitation works because you're breathing into them 15% oxygen and they only need 5%. So mouth-to-mouth, it works. It's funny because you don't think about it, but it's like, oh yeah, that is got to have oxygen in it or else you're just killing them faster. A long time ago, there was a late night talk show host named David Letterman, and he would do wacky stuff. at one time, he put on a suit made out of Alka-Seltzer. It was a regular suit, but they had sewn Alka-Seltzer all over it. And then he jumped into water and he was going to bubble around, and it was going to be funny. Carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen gas, and that makes sense because it's got 2 oxygens in it plus a carbon, where oxygen just has 2. It has the same 2 oxygens, no carbon. So it makes sense that that's more light. When he was bubbling in the water, then all this carbon dioxide was being given off, and it was pushing, just imagine like a balloon floating and it's filling up underneath it, it would push it up. So it was filling up his vat with water in it of carbon dioxide, and all the oxygen was going away as it was being pushed out the top by the rising carbon dioxide given off by the Alka-Seltzer, and he was dying, and they didn't realize it. He was like, yelling help, and they just thought it was part of the act, and everybody was laughing at him. Finally, someone realized that he was in trouble and got him out of there, but they really should have been consulting scientists before they did such foolish things, but they almost killed David Letterman on TV with an Alka-Seltzer suit. It's not funny, but it kind of is. Excuse my laughing. All right. So this is what's going on. This is called the reaction for cellular respiration. So we need to take in oxygen and give off carbon dioxide. Also, we have to watch out to not breathe in poisons. There is another chemical, not carbon dioxide, which is harmless. Carbon dioxide doesn't hurt you. What hurts you is a lack of oxygen. David Letterman wasn't hurt by the carbon dioxide. He was hurt by the lack of oxygen, the fact that the carbon dioxide pushed the oxygen out of the way. So carbon dioxide is what the bubbles in Coca-Cola. It's the bubbles that make bread rise. It is a useful and great chemical, and we enjoy it very much. And plants need it, so that's good too. But if you have incomplete combustion, if you burn something, if you have a house in the city where they have gas, in natural gas, you turn on your stove and a little blue flame comes out. That's natural gas, and it burns. It does not. It's a good complete combustion. It doesn't give off ash, smoke, and the flame is blue, not yellow. Okay, if you have incomplete combustion, then the fire is not as efficient, and it gives off other things besides our nice combustion reaction that we have right here. It will give off ash and smoke, and it will also give off this chemical, carbon monoxide. It only has 1 oxygen instead of 2. Carbon monoxide is poisonous. It will kill you to breathe it in. And people on accident kill themselves every year with this. So I always like to, whenever I get the opportunity to give you safety warnings, I want to do that. I don't want any of y'all to die because you didn't understand your science. So whenever I can tell you to be careful about something, and when I've seen things on the news where I was like, oh, they didn't understand science, they died, I always make a note of that so I can tell my students. But carbon monoxide is one of the products of incomplete combustion. And how people die of this on accident is by breathing it in, by having incomplete combustion in a not well ventilated area. People will have a space heater that's not working correctly, and it's giving off carbon monoxide. Another one that happens is here in Georgia, every other year or so, we might get snow and the power goes out because we're not used to it. So every time it snows, our power goes out. But it's only once every 2 years, so we deal with it instead of getting better equipment. Well, then someone thinks, it's cold, my heat's off, I'll bring my grill in and we'll cook on it inside. The grill is incomplete combustion. Grills make smoke, don't they? And so then they'll have it in the house, and they will gas themselves and kill themselves. So you don't want to ever have a fire in your house that's not in your fireplace or in your wood-burning stove where it's vented good, because you need that gas to leave and not be in your house and you not breathe it in. Another thing that happened here in the Atlanta area where I am, there were some people who had a pickup truck and they had it covered. And they went from Georgia to Alabama. And they, the grown-ups were in the cab of the truck, and the kids wanted to be in the back. It'd be fun. So the parents let them, and they had a mattress in the back, and the kids laid down on the mattress to ride to Alabama. When they got to Alabama, the kids were dead. I know, it's so sad. 3 kids dead. What had happened is the car is also not complete combustion. It's incomplete. And one of the gases the car gives off through its tailpipe is carbon monoxide, which is poisonous. It will kill you. Well, they didn't know it, but that carbon monoxide was leaking. It wasn't just going out the tailpipe. It was coming back into the back of the truck, and it gassed and killed the children. It makes them go to sleep and not wake up, and that's what happened. Another harmful gas is this one, Cl2. This is chlorine gas. It's green, and it's deadly. So that one always makes me think of Joker, because, you know, he's always gassing people with deadly green gas. It's got to be chlorine. But people kill themselves on accident with chlorine also. What they do is they will be cleaning their bathroom, and that has got to be the most unglamorous way to die, period. Cleaning the bathroom. It's the one job you don't want to do. You're doing it anyway, and on accident you kill yourself. Just pitiful. What happens is they're using some ammonia-based cleaner, some base, some scrubbing bubbles, something like that, and it's not coming clean, and they think, I need something more strong. So then they go get something with Clorox in it. They get you know, soft scrub, or they get what's the Dutch cleaner, one of those. They all have Clorox in them, and they add it to where they've got the strong base. Strong bases free the chlorine out of the Clorox-based cleanser and into the green poisonous gas, and they kill themselves breathing it in. So never mix cleaners. If you decide that the one's not working, rinse it completely before you get out another one. And also turn on that little vent in your bathroom. They've got them. Turn on that fan. Suck that air out of there. Be careful. Do not kill yourself cleaning the bathroom. It wasn't last summer, but I think the summer before, there was a guy in Atlanta who killed himself with the chlorine at his pool. The chlorine is what you add to pools. It's what makes your hair turn green. So if you're blonde and you swim a whole lot in the summer, but he had an empty bottle, an empty bucket of pool chemicals. It was empty. You know, mostly a little residual around the edges. He turned it upside down so it wouldn't rain in it and make mosquitoes. And it was sitting there upside down in the hot sun for a while. Later, he goes to clean up the bucket. He goes to pick it up, and the sun, the heat, our Georgia heat, had released the chlorine out of the pool chemical into a gas. When he turned it over, he got a big whiff, and he killed himself on accident. So that's a better way to go than cleaning your bathroom, but still not what he intended. He was just cleaning up around the pool. So always be real careful of chlorine. We get so used to it. It's in our pool chemicals. It's in our water. We have a little chlorine added to our water as a disinfectant. You know, just our drinking water. You can actually have a little bit to drink, and you'll be okay if it's just a tiny, tiny bit mixed with lots and lots of water. But breathing it in, it's going to get you. You know, we're used to it in the pools. So anyway, so chlorine, it kills germs, which is what we want it to do, but it can kill you too, and you're not a germ. All right, so watch out for gas poisons. This is respiration. This is good respiration. This is what you want. Breathing in oxygen, breathing out carbon dioxide. But watch out for carbon dioxide, that there's always plenty of oxygen around too. Now, not all animals have lungs and breathe like we do. Sponges, they don't need them. They just let their waste go in the water. The water brings them their dissolved oxygen. They don't need it. So there are some very small, or not necessarily small, but some aquatic creatures who don't have to breathe at all. And then there are other animals, and your book has them on page 265, of animals that breathe definitely different than we do. One is an earthworm. It just takes in oxygen through its skin. Fish take in oxygen through their gills. That's where they take in the water that's got the dissolved oxygen in it. And remember, I told you last time, Fish don't breathe H2O. They do not breathe the oxygen that's in water. They breathe O2 just like us, but it's oxygen dissolved in water. And gases can be dissolved in liquid. You know this because you've had Coca-Cola before or some sort of soda, and it's got that dissolved carbon dioxide in it, and you pour it and you can see the bubbles. And we like it. We like bubbles in our drinks. And it's because gases can dissolve into a liquid. Another animal that has a different sort of respiration system than us are insects like grasshoppers. They have little holes all down their sides where they do gas exchange through the little holes. And little pores where they can do that. And frogs can take in oxygen through their skin, just like the earthworm, but then they also have lungs, so they have both. That would be great. You know, sometimes I think about evolution, and we are terrible at it. If evolution is true, we're terrible at it. Every other animal seems to have better skills than we do. We can't do anything. We can't fly. We can't breathe through our skin like a frog. We can't breathe underwater like a fish. We can't run real fast like a dog or a horse. We are just lame. I guess the only thing we do great is being smart. And I think we do communication good. We are good at talking and sharing knowledge. So we don't have to start over. We can always learn from written words and from other people. So I guess that's our power, but it just seems like we have a lame superpower, that we are not very, that we don't have any of the cool things that animals have. Even my cat jumps better than I do. My cat can jump from from the floor all the way up onto this ledge that's way, way high up my house. And it's like, people can't do that. And if we fall, we just splat. Cats land on, they have their tail acts like a gyroscope and gives them balance, and they land on their feet. See, we have no powers. We need to be like Beast Boy and have some powers. All right, next idea. Respiratory organs. Okay, so how we breathe in is we start with, we breathe in through our nose, and then we have little hairs in our nose. I know it's gross, but it's true. That helps get out dust and particles. And talking about it's making my nose itch thinking about the dust. Okay, so we breathe in. Then there is a nasal cavity back in your nose that has got mucus in it. That's gross too, but it's the way it is. And it makes your breath moist. It's terrible to breathe in real dry air. It's awful. So it makes it more moist. It also changes the temperature. If the air is too cold, it warms it up. If it's too hot, it cools it down. So the nasal cavity helps make the air nice for you to breathe in. Then it goes down through your windpipe, which is called your trachea. And as it goes down, there's a little flap door called the epiglottis. So if you swallow, it closes off your lungs so you don't get water or food or whatever in your lungs. And then it opens back up so you can breathe, the little trap door. The funny thing is even after, years of drinking, I can still do it wrong and get choked. It's like, how did I mess this up? But I do. So then the trachea branches into two branches, your right and left lung, and that little tube that goes to it is called the bronchi. And it used to be that they used to advertise an inhaler that wasn't a prescription inhaler, but an over-the-counter inhaler that you could buy called Primatene Mist. And they would always show the respiratory system, and they'd show the bronchi, and they'd say, breathe in Primatene Mist. It will reduce swelling in bronchial tubes. And so it was really easy to remember because they played that commercial all the time, and they would show all the parts of the lungs in that commercial. And it really helped everybody who was learning about the lungs. You could always remember the Primatene Mist commercial. I think they still sell it. I don't know, but I think most people have prescription inhalers now. My son Joshua used to have asthma. He had RSV as a baby. He almost died, which is a breathing thing. It's a virus that attacks your breathing. He got when he was 10 days old. He had relapses throughout the year. Ended up in the hospital 11 times his first year. Me and Joshua would be staying at Scottish Rite in Atlanta again, spending our week at Scottish Rite. The good thing about it was, of course, they saved him. But then the second good thing is they have really good food in their cafeteria. It's like, well, if I have to be at Scottish Rite for another week, at least, there's good food. And they're saving Joshua, so that's good. But anyway, so he had asthma, all when he was little, and he had his inhaler, and he would get croup constantly, which wasn't real croup. It was how his asthma manifested, and it was really hard. And then when he got at like middle school age, he took karate, and he had a sensei, a teacher, who said, if you would start running, it'll help your asthma. It'll help train your lungs, like those people who die for a long time. And at first he was like, I can't even imagine running because I can't breathe. But he started with running like 50 feet. That's all he would run. And then he'd do that and do that and do that until he got better and better, and it worked. So his sensei, who also had asthma, and it was getting to be a problem with his karate because he'd lose his breath so much doing karate, he suggested that he start running, and it worked. And he doesn't ever use his inhaler anymore. He's like, I don't have asthma anymore. And it was, I guess he really does, but he never uses his inhaler anymore because he strengthened his lungs, and like his lungs can still do the response, but somehow the running helped. I don't know how. I'm not a doctor. That's not medical advice. Just telling you what someone told my kid, and it actually helped him. So, and it's such a relief that he doesn't have to be reliant on an inhaler anymore. So anyway, so then when you breathe in, it goes to your lungs. And then your lungs branch and get finer and finer and finer until there's tiny little air sacs on the very, very ends of the branches. They're called alveoli, and they look like little clusters of grapes. If you spread them all out, they would cover an area, your book says, 1/5 the size of a basketball court. So no matter what way organisms have of respiration, it always has a very big surface area. If you spread out gills of a fish, it would be very big. If you spread out the frog skin in his lungs, it would be very big. So there's always a big surface area for this exchange of gas to happen on. In the alveoli, that is where the capillaries that we talked about when we talked about blood, where the capillaries meet the air sacs, and that's where the gas exchange happens. Remember, we learned how the blood that doesn't have oxygen anymore goes to the heart. The heart pumps it and sends it to the lungs, and at the lungs it gives up the carbon dioxide, and the blood gets the oxygen. It returns to the heart, it pumps again, and it goes throughout the body. So you will see that in your book. It talks about how it goes through each part and how the gas exchange happens. So remember, capillaries are where the blood goes through one at a time, the blood cells. And when it's like that, that's where the gas exchange can happen. The cells give up the carbon dioxide and they take in the oxygen. All right, now then, you breathe about 12 to 16 times in 1 minute. How do you breathe? All right, so there's two ways. You have muscles in your ribs, and you have this muscle that's curved that goes under your lungs. When it's relaxed, it curves up. When you flex it, it goes down. When it goes down, it's like taking a balloon and pulling it out, and it sucks the air in. That curved muscle is called your diaphragm. You've heard about that before. Like if you've ever been in choir, they say, sing from the diaphragm, meaning don't strain your throat singing. Use that strong muscle and use that to make your breath come out and to control your breathing while you sing. So that's how it works. It's sort of like if you have a bottle and you squeeze the air out and then you let go, and it's a plastic bottle and it pops back out again. You could feel the air sucking into it. So squeeze, it goes out. Let go, it goes back in. But this diaphragm, when you tighten it, it goes down and makes the air goes in. When you relax it, that's breathing out, and that makes the air go out. So it's between your ribs and your diaphragm that makes it work. All right. So we talked about breathing. We're good with that. Breathing problems. Okay, so we talked about carbon monoxide and chlorine gas and other pollutions that can kill you. There are other things that you can have diseases of breathing, like asthma that my son had. Another one is emphysema. Emphysema is a disease that my grandfather had from smoking. He smoked and it caused emphysema, which makes the alveoli break down and you can't breathe. So he did not smoke long. It's not like he smoked for 50 years and then got it. He only smoked a very short time in his life. Maybe 10 years, maybe 5, but it gave him emphysema and he can never breathe good again. And it's terrible. So don't smoke. It causes all kinds of problems: cancer, heart attacks, high blood pressure, emphysema. Just not worth it. And the tar and the nicotine is so addictive. A long time ago, I knew this lady who she was a alcoholic and she smoked cigarettes. And she had a life change where she gave up the alcohol, and she said she never wanted it again. No desire for it, none at all. But she also gave up smoking, and she said till the day she died she would like a cigarette. It is so addictive. She quit smoking, but she said it is so addictive that you always want it again. And I don't want a cigarette controlling me. I don't want that. I want to be free. So I'm not going to smoke. And it's just not real healthy. I know you're going to make up your own mind. People do, but that's my advice if you want to listen to it. All right, another disease that you can get that has to do with breathing is pneumonia. It can be caused by a virus or bacteria. There's viral pneumonia and bacterial pneumonia. My husband almost died of this. Back in 2008, he got pneumonia, and he had walking pneumonia. He didn't even realize he had it. He joked saying it was rockin' pneumonia. That sounds cooler. But he got it, and it moved to his heart. It moved from his lungs to his heart because there's that connection between your lungs and heart. And his heart got infected on the outside and the inside. He had pericarditis and myocarditis, and most people die from it. But he got well, but it damaged his heart. Most people who have this happen to them have to get a heart transplant. They have to have a cadaver heart. Someone who's an organ donor, they get their heart. But his heart wasn't damaged that bad. He's been able to keep his heart, but it's not the same as it was before this happened. So don't mess around. If you think you've got pneumonia, get to the doctor quick and get that antibiotic going. You don't want something moving to your heart because it's just terrible. Thank goodness for antibiotic though, or he would have just been dead in his 40s. So, now, the other thing we're going to talk about, so that's the breathing, we're through with that. That's the respiration. And now we're going to talk about excretion. And I told you that's peeing. And what it is getting the waste products out of your blood that you pee out. So it's your excretory system that does this. You get this buildup of this chemical you don't want in your body called urea. Is a waste that results from breaking down proteins and other animals. And so the main organ that does that for us are our kidneys. Kidneys are these things that are about as big as your fist, and you have 2 of them. They're at your back, your lower back, right in there. And they're actually outside your body cavity. You have a body cavity with all your organs in it. And the kidneys is sort of like, there's a separator between where all like your other organs are and your kidneys. So kidneys were the first thing they were able to operate on successfully because they were able to operate on them without going into the body cavity and introducing bacteria and stuff into that body cavity. You have 2 kidneys. You can live with just 1. So I watched Ninja Warrior. It's this show where these people run around and jump off of things, and I just love it. I just love it. It's very fun. But there's one of the ninjas, one of the athletes, and his thing that he tries to promote is share your spare, that you have 2 kidneys, and there's all these people waiting for a kidney transplant, and that you can give yours away to someone else. I keep my extra kidney. I'm afraid someone in my family might need it. But he's all about people sharing their extra kidneys so people can get one who are on the list to get a donor kidney. But you can live with just 1. And what it does is it takes this urea out of your blood. It goes from your blood to your kidneys, and then it comes out in your pee. So it is the way that your blood gets purified. Some people don't need a new kidney probably, but they don't have one. There's not as many kidneys available as there are people who need them. So they have to go to something called dialysis. And you see these little places in strip shopping centers around here. And it is where they have to go, and they get hooked up to a machine, and instead of their kidneys cleaning their blood, the machine cleans their blood and puts it back in them. And some people have to do that like 3 times a week, and sometimes it gets so bad that it can be really bad for you. You don't want kidney failure. Now, what can cause kidney failure? There's kidney diseases that can. Also, certain medicines can cause kidney failure, and compression can. I know someone who got so skinny because they had diet problems that then their body started compressing because they got so thin, and it caused compression of their kidneys, and now they've got kidney problems. Like, they're probably going to have to get a kidney transplant because of this. They have terrible kidney problems, and it all goes back to them starting to have food problems, food intolerances, and then they got so skinny from it. So you don't want to get too skinny. They used to say there's no such thing as being too rich or too thin. Yes, there is, at least with the too thin part. You don't want to be too thin. It can be bad for your kidneys. Also, a lot of over-the-counter medicines are really bad for your kidneys, so people will take them for too long or take too much, and they'll end up with kidney disease from it. Especially the painkillers, Tylenol, Advil. You want to watch out for those and not take too many of them. If you find yourself taking more and more of those, you probably need to address why you have the pain, because the over-the-counter medicines can actually really hurt your kidneys, and you don't want that to happen. So it filters your blood. Now, there are some animals that don't have kidneys. Of course, the sponge, it just lets the waste go into the water. The earthworm that lets it go through these little holes, little tubes. But things like mice and that, they have kidneys like us. So what happens is your blood goes into your kidneys. Then there are the little part of the kidney that does the cleaning. Is called the nephron. You can see a picture of one on page 277. And so the capillary will give the waste and a bunch of other stuff to the nephron. Then it goes through the nephron, and then the nephron gives back just what it needs, good blood, taking the waste away, back to the capillary, and then the capillary has clean blood, and off it goes. The nephron then takes that waste and sends it on out. It's going to go out through your ureter, and then on out. The ureter is a tube that goes from the kidney to the urinary bladder. So then you've got your bladder, and then it goes from your bladder to outside your body. You want it out of you through the urethra. And if you go to the hospital, sometimes people, when they're in the hospital, can't pee. And so they will stick a tube up the urethra and open that up to make the pee come out. And I've never had to have it done, but they do it to men and women and boys and girls. And it is not nice. You want things coming out of there, not going in. But that happens in the hospital. It's called having a catheter, and they'll catheterize you by sticking a tube up there to help you pee, because sometimes the peeing will shut down in the hospital because depending on what's going on with you. So don't want that to ever happen. All right, so you're going to do a lab on page 278. You're going to get a goldfish. Is this the goldfish one? No, you're not going to. You're going to do a lab. Let's go back. That's not the right one. You're going to do a lab. Let me turn back to it. Turning the pages. Okay, this is exciting. You're going to do a lab on page 266. You're going to get a goldfish, and you are going to change the temperature of its water, and you're going to watch it breathe. It can be any small fish. And you're going to watch it breathe and see if changing the temperature of the water has an effect on the goldfish's gills going in and out, how much it is doing respiration. So we did that last year. It was fun. We went to PetSmart. I think I got 2 fish because I had 2 class. I think I got 2 fish for $1. So you can afford this experiment. It was very fun. It worked great. Very interesting. Do that one. Because remember, we like living lab, so you're going to do one with a live fish. I got mine, yeah, from PetSmart, I think. I think it was PetSmart. Anyway, and so do it. I let my fish go at the end. I let it go into the little pond by my house. And there were all these birds going around looking for fish to eat. And of course, the goldfish were bright orange. So let's hope natural selection didn't happen, but they lived on happily in the pond. But we let them go. All right, so it's not a commitment to keep your fish. Okay, the second lab is the lab that's on page 278, and we did not do it last year. It takes special equipment. You have to order artificial urine from the biology supply company. We didn't bother. There's another activity I'm going to tell you at the very end that you could do instead, and it doesn't take special equipment. So I recommend that one instead and not the one where you have to pay for the fake urine. All right, so the next place where we excrete is not just pee, it's our skin. Ooh, that's a little gross, isn't it? You can see your skin on or a picture of skin on page 279. You sweat through your skin, it gets rid of extra liquid. It helps cool your body and control temperature, but also salts, extra salts come out. That's why sweat is salty. You know, you were a little kid, you were sitting there, you noticed your shoulder and you licked it and you noticed that it was all sweaty and it tasted salty. You know you did that as a little kid. Every little kid does that. You can lose half a liter of water a day through sweat, and if you exercise or you got hot, you can sweat even more. It's how the body cools itself because there is energy in the water, in the sweat, and then as it evaporates, it takes that energy away. Evaporation is a cooling process. Condensation is a warming process. So evaporation takes the energy away and it keeps you cool. So you can look at your skin. There's sweat glands in it. There's hair that comes out of it. There's fat. Some people have to have dialysis, the artificial kidney machine, and that's it. Okay, so here's your other experiment I want you to do. On page 283, it says Skills Review Experiment. What you're going to do is you're going to blow up a round balloon for 15 seconds. 15 seconds. You're going to work on blowing it up. See how big it gets. Then you are going to run in place for 1 minute. Okay, and then you're going to do it again. And you're going to see if you're going to be able to blow up a bigger balloon in 15 seconds or a smaller balloon. What is the effect on exercise and your efficiency of respiration? All right, so that's much easier. All you need is 2 balloons and you. You are the animal that we're doing, or the organism that we are doing the experiment on this time. So you are the living thing that is going to get studied, your ability to do respiration. All right, so that's that chapter. Come back next time and we'll talk about the skeletal system, support and movement. For most of you, you're probably going to have Thanksgiving break now. So it's okay. Have that break and come back and we'll talk about support and movement. I'm Miss Lisa. Like, share, subscribe. Science is great. See you next time.